Well, today on Rethink Real Estate, we're discussing, don't want to be replaced? Do your job. Welcome to Rethink Real Estate. My name is Ben Brady, and this is a real estate podcast aimed to deliver sales strategies, marketing tips, and business insights from industry experts and myself to build a listing-focused business for the future. Let's get into it. Today's going to be a really quick episode, but it's really more of a rant than it is anything else. So if you're tired of me ranting or you don't want to listen to this, then no problem. But it's really an industry-based rant. I'm in a unique position where at the moment I have, in excess of 157 auctions all around different states in the US where I get to deal with a great deal of many agents, not only on a listing side, but also on a buyer side as well. Not to mention is that, in the areas that we deal in, where the marketplaces are, definitely lagging at the moment. If you talk Florida, if you talk Tennessee, if you talk Colorado, you talk Texas, you talk Virginia, you talk all of these different places that we're doing business in, Arizona as well, and certainly different price points in parts of Southern California and, up north as well. But the reality is that there's one thing that has been an absolute blaringly obvious issue, even to the point where it's got me thinking of how to replace buyer-side agents. Just to give you an understanding of what I deal with on a daily basis, is that the volume of offers that we would get on properties that come into the agent or directly here to the auction team, because keep in mind with our process, about 48% of our properties sell prior to auction day through a standard offer where people will submit that offer to try and stop the auction. One of the really big things that I've started to notice, and this is probably over the last 12 months, it's really become obvious to me, the volume of offers we get without even a phone call from the buyer's agent to say that it's coming in. That's the first thing. Now, it's not because they're lowball offers. If you're thinking about that, if you understand the auction process, we put a bidding to start from price on it. And yes, it generates quite a lot of offers. The average number of offers that we have on a property prior to auction day is about 5, if you take the overall average at all different price points. Now, that being said, is that out of, say, that average of 5, I would go as far as to say only 2 of them would be actually at the bidding to start from that is a low value, where the agent sort of knows that it's a lowball offer and they obviously are representing an investor or somebody along those lines. But the other 3 offers out of the average of 5 are legitimate primary places of residence. Keep in mind is that over 90% of all of the properties that we sell end up selling to a primary end user, somebody that will be living in the property, right? And the other 3 is that we would get most people send the offer in without even a phone call to the agent or us as the auction team to go, hey, I'm sending you an offer. I just wanted to let you know. Or, hey, my buyer's interested. I have some questions. Absolutely nothing. And the offer just gets sent in. But then I want to give you the next step that absolutely has blown my mind even further. Part of the auction process is for myself as the auctioneer to be involved in every offer that actually comes to the table. We will always reach out to the buyer's agent or the buyer if they're being represented directly, and we will have a conversation with them to ask whether or not it is the highest and best offer for them or whether or not it's a starting offer. At that point, we will understand how to handle it. Now, this is the next part of this that is absolutely fucking infuriating, is that out of, say, the 5 offers on average that we'll have on a property prior to auction day, okay, let's say that 4 of them, when I go to call the agent, if they are represented, to speak to the agent, to ask them that question, is this the highest and best? Is it a starting offer? Can I have a better understanding of whether or not your clients have seen other properties? Have they made other offers on other properties? What is the budget that they are working with? All of these different questions that we can ask in order to find out whether or not we could bridge a deal together. 4 out of the 5 agents that I would call do not pick up their phone, first and foremost. And then when I send them a text message after leaving a message, hey, I'm calling about 123 Smith Street and the offer that you submitted, give me a call when you can. The volume of response that I get, 4 out of 5 from the agent will be, just send us a counter offer, please. That is what the response is. And you're wondering why ultimately you are fearful of being replaced or whether or not you should be. You absolutely should be. Absolutely, if that is the practice of what ultimately you are doing. And as far as I'm concerned, you can't tell me that there isn't an AI model out there at the moment that could actually schedule a showing, call it buyer.ai, okay, where ultimately we are going to ask for a 2.5% buyer side compensation and give 75% of the buyer side compensation back to the buyer. Now, what that's going to do is that they're going to set up their own showing, or we're going to have the AI agent set up the showing directly through Showing Time or wherever it ultimately is, because barely anybody's doing open houses anymore anyway, okay? And they go and show themselves through the property. They then respond back, or we have the AI bot follow them up to say, how was the showing? Let us know if you'd like to make an offer, okay? They respond to that AI, which then puts it into a contract format and then sends it over to the agent. And when the agent responds, say, just send us a counter offer, you are going to be replaced. And somebody should do it. Whether it's me, whether it's somebody else, somebody should absolutely do it, because the distinctly poor behavior of buyer-side agents is unbelievable. Now, I'm not saying that is everybody, but I am saying that it is a large majority of agents that absolutely suck. Now, maybe you already knew that. Maybe you're sitting on the other end of this going, hey, no, Ben, we already knew that. No, it can't be that 95% of an industry is that bad, because if it is, then it deserves to be replaced. Now, I'm not saying on a listing side of things. If you are a listing agent, there is definitely something more from a connection perspective that you need to have with clients if you're selling a primary resident, and there is a little bit more accountability to it. But when a buyer is doing an offer, or when they're going through that process, there is not as many expectations. The buyer doesn't know when the buyer's agent is being lazy and doesn't want to do anything, just wants to provide them with a counter offer, just wants to do it that way. Not speaking to somebody in order to get 2.5% is not right if you're not doing anything at all. That is the rant over. Hopefully it's not too harsh, but I don't believe that it is. Step it up. Make people not think of us as used car salesmen, because the reality is, I don't care what any of you say. I don't care whether your market's different. I don't care whether you do things differently. But everyone else around you is doing what I have mentioned, because it's happened for so long and I just couldn't ignore it anymore. Thanks so much. So about 75% of our audience hasn't liked, followed, or subscribed to our podcast. It would mean the world to us, and it would help this podcast more than you know to expand our reach if you were to like, follow, or subscribe on any of the platforms that you're watching or listening on. Thanks again.